can still see the phone. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Rob Zammit here on Bondi Vet. I'm here at the college actually giving a talk on my life as a veterinarian and what it's been like, and it actually allowed me to reflect on how lucky I've been to work with all these different animals. Obviously, if you watch Bondi Vet, dogs are more my bag than anything else, but I've worked with lions, tigers. In fact, at home, I've had lions and tiger cubs. We even had a seal pup once at my home and used our pool. Dreadful mess he made, but it was okay. It was well worth it. Animals for me are worth it. And the reason I love being on Bondi Vet is I get to reach so many of you and hopefully give you some advice. And if I save one extra dog or one extra cat or one extra animal and give it some peace or something by doing this, I'm very, very happy to be speaking with you all the time. I've enjoyed it. We started doing a lot even during COVID because a lot of people took on pets during COVID and quite frankly did not know what they were doing. So this type of live chatting with you is just ideal for me. I get to talk to some of you specifically and probably reach some of the others as well. And that way you'll probably hear a question that you want to know the answer to. Certainly, it's one of the things that I always see a lot is that if one person has a question, a lot of other people want to know the answer to that question. So don't be frightened. If you've subscribed to Bondi Vet, you can come and ask a question. Right here from Jack from Melbourne has asked, how can I stop my dog being car sick? And that's a really good question. You can certainly, if you don't do that, you tend not to take your dog out. You don't want your dog sick in the car all the time. So you tend to just walk around the same area all the time. Teach your dog to enjoy the car and you will take him to parks and beaches and lots of other places, lakes, etc., where you can really enjoy your dog. But dogs aren't automatically used to cars and automatically used to just driving around not getting car sick. The trick to doing it is to get them used to the car slowly. And with dogs that are very car sick, there are drugs that you can use from the veterinarian. Excuse me. Your vet can prescribe drugs, but you don't want to be doing that all the time. And if you do that all the time, you won't be taking a dog out very much. You can also use ginger tablets. You buy ginger tablets just from a health food store, and they can be very helpful in the initial stages of getting your dog used to getting in the car and driving around. But the thing that I do very often with all my dogs, in fact, when they're puppies, before feeding time at night, they go in the car, we just drive around the block, just a small area, and then come out, play for a minute and give them their food straight away. They start associating the car with eating and having some fun. Straight away, the car becomes a happy place. Plus, that constant movement every day gets them used to being driving around. And it's the same as if you get seasick. If you get in a boat all the time, you get over your seasickness eventually. But ideally, in a car situation, what you need to do is just every single day, if you can. Look, you'll miss a few days. Life's too busy to be doing it every day. But if you can, before you feed the dog, put him in the car, take him on a small ride around, pop him off and allow him to play for a few minutes when you get him out and then feed him straight away. That's the ideal way of getting a dog used to a car. The other thing that you might want to think about is the type of car you have. And of course, you've got to make sure you've got good restraint for your dog. Too many dogs get injured in the past. I've seen it, really bad injuries because the dog's not restrained. So your dog has to feel secure as well as anything else in the car. Ideally, if it's a sedan, you can have a seatbelt. If it's a station wagon, you can put them in the back. Now, Yvonne says hi, and she wants my advice on the cat's gingivitis. It's a real problem. Gingivitis, inflammation of all your gums. It occurs too commonly in cats. Why does it occur? Often it's the food that we're giving them. It can occur because of autoimmune disease. An autoimmune disease, auto is yourself, immune, your own system that fights infection. What happens there is that you get autoimmune gingivitis where your own immune system is causing inflammation of your gums. the way to avoid it really, unfortunately, is you need to start from kittenhood. When they're young kittens, I feed just the corners, the very corners of chicken wings that have a bit of cartilage or a bit of bone, and they get used to chewing that. If you do that, then you can give cats a raw chicken wing once a week, and that will keep the teeth clean. Just giving them chicken wings all the time is not a good way to feed a cat. You need to use some of the good foods that have been developed for cats over the years. There's been literally billions of dollars trying to develop good foods, and they have got great food, which I use on my cats. But also, once a week, they get a raw bone, and usually it's a chicken bone. Never for a dog. Never give a dog chicken bones, but for cats, that's the way I get rid of gingivitis. Once a week, they get a raw bone to chew on. Now, who have we got? Cody, my question is about Daisy, who has an enlarged heart, but she falls on her side and shakes and yaps every 5 to 10 seconds. So she's got real problems falling over. She's 10 years old, and her enlarged heart is decreasing her blood pressure, and that's probably why she's falling over. What you need to do, it needs veterinary attention. There's no home advice on a bad heart. There are a lot of good drugs that can be used to make life longer. When I was a student, we were always told, once you hear a bad heart murmur, 12 months is about all they'll last after that with medication. These days, the medications are fabulous. They can really help blood pressure. They can really slow down the heart when it's beating too fast. What happens when a heart is failing because it's enlarging? Then the body knows it, so it starts beating faster and faster and faster. Beats so fast that the heart doesn't have time to relax and fill before it contracts. So if you need your heart to just relax, fill, then contract, fill, then contract. There are drugs that will allow it to do that. There are drugs for blood pressure. There are drugs that will open up the airways, so you're getting plenty of oxygenation of the blood. That's obviously important. These are the important things. And there are also specialist cardiologists that can help your dog these days. That's pretty important. An enlarged heart eventually will be the demise of the dog. And one of the common questions I get asked is, how do I know when it's time? And my answer is pretty standard. Because you dare to ask that question, because you care so much, you'll know your heart when it's time that drugs can't help your dog anymore, nothing can help your dog anymore. And it's time then to talk to the vet about the very last thing that we have to do, which we hate doing as veterinarians. But that's not where we start. We start with lots of drugs that can really help. Okay, Michael from Newport, how can I stop my dog barking during the day? Barking dogs remain as one of the biggest problems for councils all around the world. People reporting noisy dogs, barking dogs. How do you stop it? There's a few things that you have to think about doing. The first thing is the dog getting what it needs? The dogs have needs like we do. They have certain requirements. Are you taking it for enough exercise, especially in the morning? And you may not be in a position to do a lot of running and exercising yourself, and your dog is. Well, find a park where you can get an old tennis racket or one of those things that help you throw the ball as a sling, and teach the dog to retrieve the ball. Dogs never retrieved before. Take it somewhere in the backyard or in the house where you just roll the ball. I usually use a hallway. I roll the ball down the hallway and the dog chases it. And a good dog, it comes back and it comes back until the dog retrieves it. Lots of exercise that way before you leave the house. And ensure that the dog has, of course, shade and water. That's important. And then, of course, make sure that the dog can listen to something. It doesn't want to sit there bored all the time. Why is it barking? Probably boredom. So it barks at birds and barks at this. I leave the radio on, or better still, have a little computer somewhere where the dog can watch YouTube and get onto the Bondi Vet channel. Play it on a loop every day. But no, some sort of entertainment for your dog. Don't forget the other things like those kongs where you can fill with food. Some people have built mazes for their dogs around their backyard and leave little bits of food around the place. That can also help a lot. And obedience training, ideal for dogs. In fact, I recommend that you train your dog to bark. Well, if you train your dog to bark on command, very often it becomes an obedience command, so they'll only bark when they're trained. They don't just bark willy-nilly. Ensure that you've got a good partitioning so the dog can't see what's going on in the street, because if people are walking past and the dog sees it, of course, he's going to bark all the time. So you may have some screen up to stop that happening. Okay, our cat not staying with her kittens. Oh gosh, they were born 2 days ago, and she is away, not keeping them warm. Her last litter in February, they passed on. What should I do? If it's happening again and it's habitual thing, you've got no choice. You have to take the kittens on yourself and start feeding. It becomes a very, very difficult thing when the mother cat won't do it. You can, if you have the mother, so you've got access to the mother all the time, you can actually use her milk. Like you'll lay her down and hold her while they feed. But you have to do that every 2 hours for kittens, so that they feed every 2 hours. Sometimes, make sure the mammary glands of the mother cat are not overfilled and hurting, because that can be a problem if there's pain, if there's mastitis. But if it's 2 days from when she had kittens, it's usually a real big problem. You can get very, very good foods these days, including what's called colostrum. Colostrum is the first milk that allows the kittens to develop an immunity against diseases. And you can even get that from your veterinarian. You can talk to your veterinarian about that, but also good milks and little bottles. And it's just hard work on your part, making sure that you're feeding the kittens every 2 hours. Now, if you do take on hand rearing, the other thing you have to remember is you have to make them go to the toilet. The mother helps them go to the toilet. Their nerve supply to their genitals is not fully developed, and they won't go to the toilet without being stimulated. The mother does this by licking the genitals and the anal area. Good news, you don't have to do that. But what you do have to do is get something like, I prefer just warm water on the running tap. I get the kitten near the water, and I just use my finger and just touch the anal area with warm water in my finger, and that will make them defecate, go to the toilet. Usually about 10 days, then they develop enough nerves. Wash your hands well after you do that. But it keeps them alive. And so I've done that with lions, tigers, puppies, all sorts of other animals, lots of different animals. So important to make sure that they're going to the toilet. Warmth is king for young animals. They cannot in any way maintain their body temperature. So be careful of that. And so, look, everyone, thank you very much for listening in on this and watching this feed. And remember, if you want to ask questions, all you need to do is become a member of Bondi Vet on YouTube. So join the Bondi Vet community even further. If you watch, that's great. If you join and become a member, you can be asking questions all the time. There's a link to that in the feed now. So don't forget to join up. Now, sorry? So another question I have at the moment is from Esme in Tasmania, who asks, do dogs go senile? Yep, dogs and cats both go senile. They both end up with dementia, and it's a real problem. In fact, after I finish here, that's one of the first cases I've got to go see. It's a senile dog that's just barking all the time. And of course, that type of barking is different to just a dog being bored and a dog being looking at people walking past. It becomes a real problem. Same with cats. Cats will start meowing and meowing, usually around midnight, and go all night. What can you do about it? Like people, we don't really have an answer for senility, though there are a few good things you can try. There is one drug that we use in veterinary science called Vivitonin, and it's been very successful for a lot of pets, not all of them, but in putting off some of the symptoms of senility. The one big thing I use is just a herbal root supplement. It's called valerian. Valerian you can pick up just over the counter at the chemist or at a health food store. And I use both valerian in dogs and cats. In cats, I use the liquid form, the drops, and I give them that at night to try and get them to settle down. In dogs, I'll often give them the tablets, valerian forte, the very strongest tablets you can get, even for the little dogs. And I'll use that twice a day, a lighter dose in the morning and a bigger dose at night to help them sleep. But valerian has been very, very successful in helping animals that are a bit senile, because it just gets them to relax and have a good sleep. And if they're having a good sleep, it seems to just help them through the day. Now, Tom would like to know, how can I stop my dog from destroying my backyard? Oh, Tom. Yeah, look, a lot of people say you can't have an animal in the garden. I'm not sure about that, but how much destruction you're prepared to put up with. I prefer as little as possible, like everybody else. My dog, August, my new puppy, has done a bit of death and destruction in the backyard, but not too much. And why not too much? Because we go out twice a day for our big walk. We have obedience classes that we go to, and I do obedience with him twice a day. 5-10 minutes twice a day of obedience means a lot to that dog. And when I'm not there in the backyard, he has lots of other distractions. Big soft bones to chew on. I don't like hard bones. I prefer the bigger, and I'm talking big size bone that he can chew on through the day. That doesn't have it every day because I don't want to constipate him, but I use a lot of the bones from the breast, and called mutton flaps, and those sort of bones are ideal for dogs. But the harder bones, not so much, and chicken bones are out. No chicken bones for dogs. The other thing I do have is those big kongs where you put food in and he has to roll it round to get the food out. It doesn't take him long these days. He's worked it out pretty quick. And then there's a few distractions, a few big hard biscuits that are hidden around the place. You've got to be careful, because if you hide them in the wrong places, they'll destroy things all the time to get to those bones to check to see if there's a biscuit there. The other thing, of course, is having some sort of music, or I find talkback radio is very good for them to listen to, because they're hearing human voices all the time. So put a radio on somewhere where they can be comfortable, and of course, somewhere comfortable for them to sleep and rest as well. They're the main things in stopping a dog from destroying the backyard. Lots of exercise, some obedience, some distractions during the day when you're not there. LMA wants to know, when will I know my 15-year-old Chihuahua is ready to cross the Rainbow Bridge? And LMA, it's like I said, because you dare ask that question. You dare ask that question, you will know in your heart when it's time. It's really difficult. But if you're looking for an answer from me directly, I always tell my clients the other thing I look for. If they can't get up to go and eat, that's obviously a thing. If they can't get up to go and have a drink, that's time. If they're all night coughing because they've got a bad heart with a Chihuahua, that's not an uncommon thing. They're just uncomfortable. They're moving all the time because they're in pain. It's time. If they're continually urinating and defecating in their bed, dogs hate losing their dignity. Don't let your dog lose its dignity, please. Don't allow that to happen. If you see that happening, it usually means it is time for you to think about talking to your veterinarian about that, what we hate doing the most, putting an animal to sleep. We don't like it, but it's something that has to be done. So talk to your vet when that happens. Now, we've got another question from Derek, who asks, oh yes, tail chasing. His dog won't stop tail chasing. What can you do about it? There's a few things. Firstly, some tail chasing behavior, unfortunately, is a form of epilepsy. Epilepsy can bring on tail chasing behavior in dogs, and that is very, very difficult to control. So much so that they'll chomp into their tails and scream in pain, even though they've inflicted the pain on themselves. When they're that bad, it usually is a form of epilepsy that's causing that pain. And when that happens, you need to talk to a veterinarian about anti-epileptic drugs. There are some very good anti-epileptic drugs available. In fact, every gamut of anti-epileptic drug that we use in humans, we can use on our dogs as well. And some of those will stop tail chasing behavior. If it's just a bit of a playful thing, like nothing to do, I'm going to chase my tail and whatever, and even grab my tail, I put a little bit of it's an athletic rub. In Australia, it's called Metzal, but it's one of these athletic rubs that stinks. And so I smeared a little bit of that on their tail, and they chase it, and they think, oh, that smells dreadful. I didn't realize it smelled so bad. And dogs don't like biting or chasing or licking or touching that part of it, so they will just stop doing it. Just smear it on the hair, don't rub it in, just on the end hair, so that when the dog does do the tail chasing behavior, that happens. They'll do tail chasing because they're bored. So do you do obedience work with your dog? Because that's one of the main things, like obedience, retrieving, taking a dog out to a park where it can retrieve, just taking a dog out for a walk. When you take your dog for a walk, it's not just for exercise, it's for mental health. When your dog's out on the walk, it's smelling, oh, Fido's been here, Rover's been there, it's smelling all the other dogs, and oh, a cat's been here, that's all other things for its mental health. It can be the same route every day, but there'll be different smells. So that will help a lot in giving the dog what it needs, because that's what you've got to think about. What are my dog's needs? Why is it tail chasing? If it's not epilepsy, which thankfully when it's not, that's good, is it something else that's bringing it on? And usually it's boredom. So think seriously about what can I do to give my dog that sort of lifestyle where it's not so bored. Now, Chiara from Tuscany, Italy, the bella country, yes. My dog is very itchy skin and has hair loss, keeps licking herself, and she really smells. The reason that itchy dogs smell is because they have inflamed skin, and the inflammation allows the bacteria on their skin to grow. The smell is bacterial growth. That's what it's telling me. So you've got to get rid of the bacteria. That's one of the things that has to happen. You can do that in two ways. You can see a vet about a course of antibiotics, or you can get some of the antibacterial washes just from the chemist. A good antibacterial wash. One's based on iodine washes. That's what we use when we go into surgery. We use an iodine wash or an iodine scrub. I'll often give those to clients to wash their dogs that smell a lot. And they will say, wow, so much fresher and better after that wash. You can use chlorhexidine, very common. We use that a lot. During COVID, we're all using chlorhexidine to kill bugs on our hands. Same deal, kills the bugs there. And then finally, the other thing that you need to do is find out, why is your dog itchy? Most likely, it's something in the environment. And you've got to look at the plant life, because dogs get very allergic to a lot of plants, especially any vines that are around, be they wandering Jew, which is notoriously bad, be it jasmine or ivy, or any vine that's growing anywhere, a dog will generally be allergic to it. A lot of dogs that are not allergic to things will be allergic to that particular, to vines if they're in their environment. So you've got to be careful of that. So just watch out for that. Now, don't forget, there's a shortcut for you if you want to become a member of Bondi Vet. It's right here. It's a great exercise because you become part of our community. You get to see lots of other things that we do that we show our members. So if you're not part of the Bondi Vet community, think seriously about just looking and signing up. Look, thank you everybody for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed this. If there are any other comments, please let us know. Love to do this again with you at some stage in the future. So all the best to every one of you, and look after your pets, and don't forget, give them an extra hug every night. Patting a dog will lower your blood pressure. Same with a cat. Stroking a cat will lower your blood pressure. So if you want to stay healthy, and if you haven't got a pet, you want to stay healthy, get out there and get a pet. Even better, become part of that. Now, Bill's asking something. Hang on. A dog's frightened of storms. Yes, that's really, really important. It's a really difficult thing. They've tried everything to try and teach dogs not to be frightened of storms, and we don't know why. And in fact, the weird thing is, it's not so much the younger dogs, it's the older dogs. And the older they get, the worse they get. I had one client who locked his dog up in the garage during a storm with his new car, came back to a very old car. He destroyed the car. The man couldn't believe how much damage the dog had done to the car. People have tried making videos and noises and tapes and sounds to allow the dog to accommodate it. None of those have worked. One of the things that have worked, there is a thing called a thunder jacket. It works in some cases, not every case, but it hugs the dog and it gives the dog that extra protection, the feeling good about life and because getting a hug and not so worried about the storm. When it works, it's fantastic, but not in every case. In Australia, someone's making a thunder kennel where the dog goes in and he has to go sort of into a little maze to get to his area that's nice and warm, might have a bone in there if a storm's coming. And these kennels decrease the sound by unbelievable amounts of decibels. If you're there with the dog, give it if you can just hold the dog firmly, that often helps because that gives it security. One of the things I do with my clients where dogs are frightened, I will give them tranquilizers. And with those tranquilizers, they'll crush the tranquilizer, the tablet, and give them a syringe. They suck up some water and syringe it down their throat, works within seconds. If you give a dog a tablet because the storm's coming, unfortunately, it'll take 10 minutes for the tablet to work, 10, 15 minutes, and the storm will have passed by the time it works. So crushing it and doing that, talk to your vet about it, that can really help. Brand new member, 3 corgis, Dr. Rob, how do you feel about shed elk horns as chew toys? Yeah, look, I haven't used them myself, but I've seen elk horns used quite a bit, and I haven't had any clients come in with dogs with elk horns stuck in their tummies, so I don't have a problem with some of that at this stage. And until proven otherwise, people are using reindeer horns and elk horns as a chew toy for their pets and having keeps the teeth clean because they're firm enough for the dog to chew on and enjoy. Most certainly, I've watched over the years dogs chewing all sorts of things if there's horses and you have a farrier and the farrier's cutting away part of the dead hoof, the dogs come in and chew on those all the time. And I haven't seen the dog really, unless you overdo it with something like that. And you can do this with soft bones, overdo bones, and you'll get severe constipation. You can't promote or demote any one nutrient in a diet. If you promote just bone, you'll end up with constipated dog. And same with elk horn is similar to that. Elk horn is actually the hair that's really keratinized, but you don't want to overdo it with that because they find it a bit harder to digest. So finally, we have got maybe time for one more question, have we? No, we don't. We have to wrap it up, folks. So thank you again. Thank you very, very much for coming on board. I hope you, if you're not a member, I hope you join up as a member so I can talk to you one-on-one even more in the future. And you get to see a lot more of the pretty exciting surgeries that we do in Bondi Vet. All the best, folks.